Right, well, the battle against P has moved to the Prime Minister's office. John Keys, Chief Science Advisor, has delivered a report on precursors, the chemicals used to make methamphetamine, or P, which he's going to release along with some other proposals in the near future. But already one of the options is to ban over-the-counter sales of pseudoephedrine-based cold and flu medications. They're the Coldrix and that sort of thing. It's drawn opposition already, and to explain why, here's one of the opposers, Tim Roper of the New Zealand self-medication industry. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Morning, Oliver. How are you?
I'm very well, I'm very well. Why do you say that the banning of over-the-counter cold and flu medicines that contain pseudoephedrine is not part of the solution to our P problem?
Well, I think the first thing we should say is the problem is not pseudoephedrine. The problem is methamphetamine. Pseudoephedrine
makes methamphetamine.
It does, or it's one of the precursors to make methamphetamine, and there are many others. So pseudoephedrine is a very effective drug, and it's used for oral decongestant by thousands of New Zealanders.
Yes, but, I mean, clearly, people take pseudoephedrine-based products and use it to make P.
That's correct.
So you can't say that pseudoephedrine is not part of the problem.
It is part of the problem, but it won't resolve the issue by banning pseudoephedrine.
How do you know that?
The vast majority of pseudoephedrine that comes in and is illicitly converted to methamphetamine comes from overseas.
Where are you getting those figures from?
Well, those figures are well known. The police acknowledge that and support that.
Well, let's talk about those figures. What figures? How many percentages of the P-labs busted are used?
Two-thirds of the pseudoephedrine that comes into the country comes from Asia, particularly China, and we see on the news quite periodically that...
but we work quite hard to block that.
Something's been done towards it, but it's not being solved completely.
But we are working quite hard on our border issues to block the illegal importation of medicine such as this.
That's correct.
So we're doing that.
That's right.
So the other part of the problem comes from over-the-counter sales of pseudoephedrine, where people buy it, cook it, and turn it into a drug that's killing New Zealanders.
But banning it will not solve the problem. There are other precursors that you can use to convert to pseudoephedrine, and the inconvenience to thousands of New Zealanders who use those products responsibly to relieve the symptoms of cough cold will be denied.
Do you believe we have a P epidemic, or do you think we more have a runny nose epidemic?
I think we have a major problem, and nobody's denying that we have a methamphetamine problem. It's a social scourge.
But you're denying that the precursor drugs are part of the problem, or that removing them won't be part of the solution. How can it not assist in it?
Well, banning the drug will not solve the problem.
No, it might not solve the problem, but it might assist greatly in reducing the problem.
Well, where we've seen banning of products in any other country, it hasn't resolved the problem. The criminals will find another way, and the alternative that's being suggested is to make it a prescription-only product. That means that you and I will have to go to the doctor to solve the problems of a runny nose and a common cold.
Would you be prepared to go to the doctor? Let's say one meth lab is using it. Let's say that there's one lab that's using over-the-counter cold and flu medicines to make illegal drug P, which is going out there and destroying lives. Now, if there's just one, would you be prepared to go to the doctor and get a prescription if it meant those New Zealanders weren't suffering horribly?
If we thought...
I mean, I would.
If we thought that banning the drug would solve the problem, yes, then that would
but
probably be the case.
You represent the marketers and the manufacturers of this drug.
Yeah.
So why would you think anything else other than let's keep selling it as much as possible?
You can argue that it's self-serving, but the reality is, if we start banning drugs, where do we stop? Do we ban codeine? Do we ban paracetamol? Where do we stop with those issues?
I think what we're suggesting is we ban the ones that contain precursor additives to make methamphetamine.
Well, our argument is that we will not solve the problem by banning pseudoephedrine.